welcome back to Dead of Ages Past. This is the second time I've said this spiel because we had some technical difficulties due to the Roll20 password issues. Some of my password nonsense was changed, and such and such and such, blah 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 technicals. Anyways, that said, last session in the middle of the night they were attacked at the house of Lord Kurgosler. They pretty much dealt with the issue without problem. And then the next morning, they knew they had to make sure that they got plenty of sleep because the king of the city of Rostigar, the kingdom of Rostigar, would be arriving at their house for a breakfast date. You awake early enough. Lord Kurgosler, when you awake, you are told by one of your staff members that Lord Remick, your guest, has left at the crack of dawn to go and deal with who knows what. They tell you that they did not stop him from leaving because they were not told to do so.
I would tell them that that's fine, that he left, and then I said I would just tell them to get prepared for the king's arrival. He should be here shortly. And I go and cast Hand of Fate, which gives me, like I can replace a roll with a different number.
Right.
So it's a new spell.
From the book Gathering Magic, which is up on DM's
Yes.
Guild. Go ahead and give that a search. It's only about $2.50 or $3, I don't remember. And it's over 100 spells. And check it out. It's pretty cool in typing. And that said, they tell you that the cooks have already been brought into the establishment by your ambassador, your vizier, and they have meals being prepared for this breakfast in your kitchen, and the dining room has been made ready for, as best as could, a kingly visit.
Okay. Now, would it be typical for me to wear like my armor because it would be, it would look real nice and ceremonial, or would it be better to wear noble clothes?
Entirely up to you.
All right, I'll just wear noble clothes then.
Okay. We had a discussion on the side, so I will take that into note when you speak to your attendants. That said, moving on. Andy, you are awake already after having tranced. What would you like to do in the getting ready process?
So I'd like to, I guess, walk around to make sure that the house is safe and secure.
Yep, and the 5 soldiers have kind of taken positions to basically receive the king. You'll note that the token has changed for soldiers. I've used my own art instead of the art that I was using before. But those are the gray tokens there. The old soldier being the one in the foyer, 2 soldiers right posted out front on the stoop, and 2 soldiers posted out at the gate, prepared to receive the retinue.
Okay.
Villette, what would Villette do?
Villette would first give herself a pleasant appearance, probably taking notes from former companion Sarah and others, and put on her nicest clothes, and then go see if there's anything to help with as far as patrolling the grounds or be of use as needed.
Okay. How about Broxgar?
I'm going to spend the whole time grooming for the first time in a while. I'm going to bathe, wash my beard, try to comb it a little bit, and make myself look presentable, because I'm usually grimy. Grimy as all hell.
Manly. Alright, you clean up. Pretty nice. The attire that you're wearing is made clean as best as possible by the tailor. Actually, not the tailor. the acolyte, the wizard, will cast prestidigitation and clean your clothing.
Sweet.
All right. What about you, Matt?
Well, I mean, Sam would have probably gotten up a little bit early, gotten out a pen, some paper, and just so that he'd remember them. Start writing down a couple of questions for the king. You know, nothing too complex, just, you know, necessarily like why he keeps throwing his enemies into this time mine and what does he necessarily plan to do with the excess time that he's harvesting from there. And why he lets the conglomerate continue to keep open their portal to hell, and, you know, normal stuff.
Nice.
Amazing. And then, what about you, Zach?
I mean, the king is coming to see us. I gotta get all primed and proper and stuff and, like, run through my lines, man. I got a whole story to tell. Like, I'm the entertainment tonight, as that's how we left it with Gilbert the night before, was he told me he wanted me to come, and so I'm gonna get ready for that.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so
Yeah, also, John, I forgot. I need to get ready, too. So, you know what? I'm fine this way. I don't care if I have dirt on me. Let's go.
okay.
Yeah, I do have a set of fine clothes that I am putting on, and like looking good.
Probably very Janaran, but brightly colored, as is your.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's obnoxiously colorful. Even the undershirts and like pants this time, it's like a whole mishmash of patterns and shit.
You know,
on board.
I didn't think that pink and that orange color would work so well together, but honestly, it really works.
Right? Just think of like Kanye's lineup last year. You know,
That's what I'm going.
any one of those outfits from the Yeezy line, and that's what Yen Lauren looks like underneath his normal Technicolor dream coat.
Nice. All right. So, Lord Kurgazler, when you go down to inspect the dining room and also what's being made, you find that they're making a full Rostagari breakfast, which includes bangers, eggs, specifically poached quail eggs, beans, and then small ocean fish, mostly like kind of like small. Trying to think. Mackerel. Probably.
Sardines? Oh, mackerel. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty satisfying. And it looks like they're also baking. These 3 cooks that have been brought into your kitchen, you've never met them before, and they're not your staff, but they've been hired. And your ambassador is with you. And he says, they're the best I could afford. And it seems they're doing pretty well.
Carry on. You guys look like you're doing a great job.
Yep. They continue about their business, and you see that the dining room has been kind of made ready. The chandeliers have been lit to a point where they're creating a nice, even lighting. The sunlight's kind of coming in from outside, but it's a bit dim because it's been cloudy and rainy as of late. The fire is going. There is an organ in the dining hall. Yeah.
A heart, a lung.
Yeah, kidney.
Like a playable instrument known as an organ.
Boy.
Yeah. And anything else that you want to do in the setup?
Does Valette, sort of walking around a lot, notice that there's new cooks in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Valette would approach Ren then and suggest, Ren, for safety's sake, I think we should make sure to test the king's food prior to him receiving it, just in case poison is afoot. Not saying there will be, but these are not Kurgazler's main cooks.
Okay. I'm not going to eat it, but that's a great idea. Why don't you round up some people to test.
I go to Lord Kurgosler, and mention this to him just on the safe side. Or if he can cast Detect Poison or something. I don't know.
Aha, that's a good point. Yes, how about,
This would probably be before you prepared your spells for the morning, so if you need to change your
Yeah.
allotments.
Oh, alright. But then I would prepare that one. That's a good idea.
Takes
'Cause
you
I
about
wanted
an
to
hour
say
to
was-
prepare your praying, so that makes sense.
Yeah, would Valette be able to tell the difference between non-poisoned and poisoned food? Like if she ate a bite,
She can't taste food.
Nope.
would the poison affect her?
Nope.
I mean, she doesn't
Alright, well,
imbibe food, so.
Then that doesn't help, does it?
Nope, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Alright.
It's like, I know more about you flesh bags than you know about yourselves, so maybe don't ingest death.
Right.
Don't ingest death. Good call, Valette. Very
Good
solid.
call,
If you
Valette.
don't, do you already have inspiration?
Ba-dum. Nope.
Gain it.
Woohoo!
Solid thinking. Okay.
I know you, John.
Yeah, no, I would totally do something like that. I will let you know ahead of time. I didn't this time, but I totally will. That said, anybody else have anything else that they want to do?
The other thing was, I'm not sure whether I'd have time to do this. At one point, I would like to transcribe one of the other rituals from that book into my spell book.
Okay. Yeah, you would have been able to do it during the morning time when you're preparing.
Okay.
I'll allow that. As you all come downstairs, you notice that the old soldier who normally stays in the foyer is now in the grand hall, kind of standing about and kind of looking towards the door as you enter in, kind of focus on who's coming through the steps. When Yenloren, are you coming down before Sam then? You don't have really the preparation process that he has, so I assume you're coming down a bit earlier than him.
Yeah, I imagine so.
He kind of walks over to you and stops you and he says, I don't want to cause any trouble. I'm not trying to start a fight or anything, but I've been addressed by Lord Kurgosler to make sure that you know that you are not welcome in the dining hall for breakfast this morning with the king. That's just what I was told. If you have any problems, you can take them up with Lord Kurgosler. He's currently attending to issues, but the second that the retinue arrives, I need to make sure that you are outside of the ground hall and also outside of the dining hall for the duration of this event. I'm just doing what I'm told, man. I'm just doing what I'm paid to do. I know you could probably split me in half with your magic, but I'm just telling you. That's what I was paid. That's what I'm being paid to tell you. Okay?
My friend. Come here. Come close.
I'm
Let
good.
me-
I'm so good. I am absolutely good. No thanks.
Listen. I understand. You are a man of little means, doing job for a man of many means.
Yep. Yeah. Again, like I said, you could talk to him about it. He's just in the dining
Oh,
preparing.
there will be words.
Yeah. He didn't.
There will be words. But I think my little blue man is busy at the moment. So, let's... Is it only Yenloren who's not invited this morning?
Samuel was also omitted. If you could tell him for me, that would spare me a lot of trouble. I don't know if I trust that green-haired bastard.
Oh, my friend, I'm more than happy to take this burden on myself. I will go up to his room now and we shall find something else to do with our
Oh,
time. You can let Lord Kurgosler know we shall be well away from the home for the duration of the king's stay, and I will leave my friend Little Snowflake here. He tells Snowflake when he wants us to return, she come find me.
Sure.
Understood?
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
At that moment, Snowflake appears, and I'm gonna let her fly over to land on his shoulder gently.
kind of, yeah, man, this went a lot better than I imagined it would go in. I thought, well, all right, thanks, man. With all the things that have been going on, I just thought it was really weird that he would not want you.
Oh, and do me one more favor, yes, little friend?
Sure.
Tell our lord, I think I will have fun surprise when I return, yes?
Okay.
Thank you, yes, thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna go fucking find Sam.
Alright, he'll go and report to Lord Kurgosler and explain what's happened.
I'm furious, by the way. In bed. Furious that little fucker didn't have the respect to come and tell me himself he sent one of his low-level lackeys like I'm some bullshit fucking guest. Like, we didn't fucking fight together, like we're not a group. You had to send a goddamn servant because you're fucking afraid. Oh, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kill him.
Oh boy.
Cut rant. As you go
Oh,
upstairs,
man.
you actually hear a bell being rang. Not like a very large bell, kind of like a handheld, bell being rang from outside. It clangs about 13 times and then goes still. Anybody who is able to look out a window, and that would be you guys upstairs, you can see that approaching the house is some 50 lemon caps surrounding a single group of individuals that is walking very close together within this encirclement of lemon caps. Yenloren, you realize that leaving the house is no longer a thing that you would probably be able to do, in that
There's a balcony, right?
about 40 of those lemon caps encircle the house's exterior. The house is now encircled by the City Watch. 10 of those
Hey,
watchmen...
we have magic.
We have magic.
Sure, do what you want. But 10 of those lemon caps remain with the retinue, the main group, and they start to advance towards the house. The two soldiers open the gates for them, and after opening the gates for them, drop to their knees and place their foreheads against the stone. The group enters through. The main group splits as it approaches the fountain in the center of the courtyard of the gardens of the estate. What are you guys doing?
I mean, I'm getting ready to start heading down with my questions.
I'm running up the stairs to Sam to try and get us out the fucking balcony and out secretly. We're gonna figure something out. But you guys go.
I probably head to the foyer and get ready to receive him and go over in my head the perfect way to do the curtsy or bow or whatever is needed, proper etiquette to greet a king.
And you're currently in normal Valette mode, right?
Probably look more like Sarah.
Okay.
I think Sarah looks prettier than Valette.
I agree with that. Kind of weird that you're parading around as a dead person, but I mean,
Oh well, too late.
I mean, the king doesn't know she's dead, does he?
probably doesn't even know who she is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're in the Great Hall. Broxgar, when you come down, you're basically allowed freedom of movement throughout the state. Are you wanting to go anywhere in particular? Stay in the Great Hall for the initial meeting, or
Yeah. I'll just stand around.
Ren, same?
Same, yeah, I just sort of behind Gilbert.
Lord Kurgosler, you enter into the
What
Great
the
Hall.
fuck do you mean we're not allowed?
You hear from upstairs, ringing out across the entirety of the house.
Oops. Think
He
you'll
said.
hear
He
that?
said.
Yeah, you got
No.
a problem.
The scene goes like this. He's in his room, and he's like, "Poke, that is the last question. Perfect. Amazing." Picks it up, looks at it. This is a great draft. Yeah, Lauren enters in. We're not fucking invited.
Oh
Amazing.
man, awkward.
Yeah, you hear yelling from upstairs. Do you address it, or do you not deal with it?
Yelling and cursing. Lots of cursing.
Okay.
I would. I guess I would yell up there. I'd be like, "We could talk about it later."
Oh, you little fucker.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we're leaving. I don't know what your thoughts are on getting the fuck out of here, Sam, but I would love to sneak the fuck out of here without seeing these yellow caps. What do you got for things?
I mean,
You have anything?
yeah. Dang it! I wish I was like, if I was one level higher, I'd have the perfect spell.
Yeah. I only have illusion
Best I've got
stuff,
right
so
now.
it's not gonna help. Minor
The
illusion.
best I've got right now is Thunderstep, which kind of makes a loud noise,
Fuck them.
but we can use that to get 90 feet away and then just run.
That's fair. Can we just use like regular? Can I just like get out onto the balcony and see if there's a way to like another building in this area, or like see if there's any way down?
No, so the courtyard out from the left, right, and north, it doesn't actually show it on the map, but it's about the same distance as from the gate on the south side to the wall of the building on the south side of the building. So it's pretty far away, distance-wise. However, if you want to pull off kind of like a sneaking kind of segment where you kind of exit out of the house through one of the other entrances, possibly out the broken balcony, kind of jump down, and then walk through the garden around the promenade to get away from the retinue as it enters in, you could do that.
Yeah, that works for
Let's do
me.
that.
Yep, and the guards on your side would be able to basically vouch for you and say to the lemon caps they're allowed to exit the place. So,
Right.
not a problem.
Well, I mean, worst comes to worst, I literally could just have part of the scenery move with us, like a giant bush. Silent image.
Yeah, that works too. If you want to get out undetected, that's also an option. Just let me know what you want to do. If you want to get out detected or undetected.
I mean, does it really matter one way or the other, so long as we get out?
It does, because if you go missing for whatever reason, like John Dupre kills you all, it would be good to know that you're not in the house, so they, don't think that, like, the Magier just popped into the house and murdered you and took you away or something. Like, they think, they died outside. So, anyways, to those in the Great Hall, as you're sitting there, kind of waiting, you hear the door open up, and then you hear the soldiers kind of like dropping down, your soldiers dropping down to their knees in respect for the king. And in walks first a woman who Broxgar, make an insight check, wisdom insight check. And Andy, make a wisdom saving throw.
I got a 12.
Let's see. $19.
Okay.
Nice.
So nothing happens. Nothing in particular there. And you watch as a woman walks in. She's wearing bright yellow dress underneath chainmail and armor, plate armor. Her hair is red, kind of cropped short to like just above the shoulders. And she enters in alongside a dark-skinned gentleman who is wearing full plate armor. He has the iconography of the Saint Averiu upon him, and appears to be kind of adorned in the accoutrement of a paladin, whereas she seems to be just a more regal and a bit more expensive looking lemon cap. And just behind them, you can see that there are two other individuals, a gray-haired individual wearing a crown upon his brow, red cape on his back with lemon-colored lining, and looks like the symbol of Atavius upon his chest in plate armor. They are in full, just ceremonial armor, looking quite fancy, but you can see that the crown of the King of Rostigar sits upon this gray-haired man's brow. And on his back is a very large greatsword. Next to him, almost as if like they were very best friends, is a very old-looking elf. Normally, elves, you can't really tell their age. They kind of hide it rather well. Bren's like 100 or something, but he looks as young as everyone else. This elf looks old, looks very venerable, and on his shoulder he has the head of a dragon that's been kind of laced into his cloak. You can tell that the skull has been, it remains there, but it looks like the dragon's eyes have been replaced. The red dragon's eyes have been replaced with blue gemstones. And bear with me while I go ahead and throw some handouts on the screen real quick.
So I recognize the woman with the blunt haircut.
The wisdom saving throw was to see if you reacted, and the insight check from Broxgar was to see if he noticed you reacting. So yeah. You do recognize Matilda. That's correct. So, the woman.
She's got no arms.
They're kind of down off screen a bit. They're there.
She was all
I see.
yellow.
The gentleman that came in alongside her definitely has arms, for sure. Arms, real arms. The king would be next. If it'll load it, there it goes. And last but not least, the gentleman that he is alongside. All right. The retinue kind of enters in, but only so far because you guys are kind of standing close to the door. The woman kind of presses her hand up and kind of looks like she's trying to gesture you back.
Yeah, from my kneeling position, I step up only slightly to back up and keep like a respectful head down.
You hear the king say over the two knights that step in first. He says, "No pleasantries required. No kneeling, no bowing. This is your home. You're the lord of this place."
Thank you, Your Grace. Let me introduce myself. I am... hang on a second. I am Gilbert Kergosler. And this is... And I would just introduce, like, Ren and everybody else also. Do you want me to actually do that?
Everybody else who matters.
You can if you want to, or not. It's entirely up to you.
Sure.
If you just want to rush through it, it's perfectly
All right.
acceptable.
Sure, also, I would introduce Ren, Keen Eyes, and then I would introduce Rockscar, Blaze Hatchet, and Valette. What's your last name, Valette?
Don't know if you've ever been told.
Alright, but I would just say that's Valette.
So you see,
And-
at the mention of the name Blaze Hatchet, the king kind of looks over at the dwarf, and you see the elf's ears literally fold forward and directionally point towards the dwarf. And his eyes kind of like, the eyebrows noticeably raise up on his brow as he looks over at the dwarf.
I'll smile and nod.
You hear the sound of a staff being battered against the wood of the floor behind the king, and you hear a loud voice speak from behind. "Your introductions have been granted. You stand in the presence of Lord King Amfred Rostagar, wielder of the Black Blade, defeater of the Red Dragon that plagued these lands. King since his youth, since before he was a man." And the king kind of looks over at him and says, and raises his hand. It looks like he's going to continue with these titles and eccentricities. And the king just stops him, looks back at the gnome, and he says, "Who's typing so much?"
Sorry.
"Well, then don't put it on freaking not push to talk, you turkey.
Mute it.
Sounds like you're writing a novel." Anyways, he looks to Lord Kergosler and he says, "I know who you are. Formalities are the most boring portion of being in this position, to be sure. Please, take us to where we'll be dining, where we'll be having breaking our fast."
Okay, and then I would escort him right this way and head over to the dining room.
Two other individuals that enter in, you notice the person who smashed his staff is an older gentleman, also gray hair, very similar in look to the king, but kind of a bit more of a beard. He carries a staff with him. The staff has the symbol of Avario, the saint of humanity in the religion of the elves. And he appears to be adorned in full vestments of a priest, possibly an archpriest or a hierophant. The other individual that walks in behind is a younger man who very much resembles the king, and he wears a very large crown upon his brow and is wearing bright yellow and blue royal attire. They don't introduce him, but he does look like someone that should be introduced. They follow Lord Kurgosler into the dining hall, where each of them takes their seats, and it looks like a total of 6, 7, 8 seats have been made ready, which is basically perfect. As the two knights stay in the great hall, the king, the prince, and the priest, and his vizier enter into the chambers. The king takes a position which is confusing to you at first, Lord Kurgosler. He just sits at a seat that's not like at the head of the table. It's not in the middle of one of the sides of the tables. It's just off to the side of the middle. It's just a chair. He doesn't take a specific seat, which strikes you as confusing. The prince, on the other hand, takes the head seat.
Okay. I guess I would look over at the prince and say, my name is Gilbert. You must be the prince, am I right?
Yes, that's right. I believe you were invited to my wedding?
Yes, I was. I'm looking forward to the wedding.
He kind of leans in, looking at his father and the priest while they appear distracted, and he says, "Do you know anything about my..." And then you see the priest kind of slam his hand and look at the boy, and he kind of stops and doesn't speak. And then the priest kind of looks at you, Lord Kurgosler, and the boy kind of like meekly sits in his seat, and you can see him kind of visibly kind of shifting in his chair. And then after a fashion, this weird tension kind of subsides. Ren, do you enter into the dining hall or stay in the Great Hall? As I mentioned, the two knights stay in the Great Hall.
I would stay in the Great Hall.
Broxgar, do you enter into the dining room or do you stay in the Great Hall?
I'll go into the dining room.
Alright. And Valette, dining hall, Great Hall.
If there is no mention one way or the other, I would probably come in, and since I don't... Would Kurgosler mention anything about it? Like, would I be expected to sit down? Because if I go in, I'll just stay in the foyer, because I'm not going to sit down for food, because I don't eat.
Yep. You see the 4 lemon caps of the 10, 6 of them stay outside, and when she enters in, she looks at Ren and walks over to him specifically. And she says, "Ren, if you would be so kind as to instruct my associates here where the entrances of, or the exits of this manor house would be, please?"
Matilda, of course. And I go about and do it.
Okay. She stays in the Great Hall, and you can see the dark-skinned gentleman kind of looking around the Great Hall, and he moves to a position near the dining hall and stands next to the door. You see him take his sword off of his belt and take his sword out of the scabbard and place the point down into the wood set underneath his hands in a very sentinel-like posture. Ren leads the other guards to take them about. This old soldier kind of stands opposite of the dark-skinned gentleman on the other side there. All right, and Broxgar, you're going into the dining hall, you said? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm assuming Lord Kurgosler sits at the head of the table opposite of the prince, which would mean that
Yep.
the king and the elf would be sitting on one side, Broxgar and the priest would be sitting on the other, and there's still 2 chairs open that are available to other persons. Okay. As you sit there, the king looks across the way very awkwardly, because normally this exchange would be face to face, not with this weird side slant that the king is imposing. It's almost like a breach of etiquette to you in your mind. You're like, you expected something different, and it's not going the way you had anticipated. He looks to you and he says, "So, how are you liking your new estate?"
Well, it is quite nice. As you probably know, I actually stayed with Lord here in the past, so I was used to the man. It's nice that he left it to me, and I'm making it my home. Unfortunately, there's actually, I'm going to have to try to get out of what I almost just said. So what I would say I'd be like, unfortunately, sometimes this neighborhood can be kind of noisy in the morning, but other than that, it's
Noisy, you
not
say?
too bad. I almost said something just so everybody else knows. I almost just told them about how we were attacked by assassins last night, but I figured that's probably a bad thing to say, so then I just decided not to. I edited myself out
Sure.
right there. So.
The prince kind of looks across to you. Noisy, you say? Very interesting. What kind of sounds do you hear?
Oh, it's like there's a strange birds roosting around here or something. It's very odd. I'd never noticed it before when I was living here.
Broxgar, as they're talking, across the way, you're watching this elf basically just grinding you with his eyes. Like, he is literally just watching every movement you make and just looking at every detail and feature of you. It's like he is basically staring into your soul. And every time you look over to him, your eyes meet. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. I'm going to try to stay composed and just
Okay.
calm.
The king says, "Well, I do apologize. We, of course, did introduce me." He looks over to the priest kind of annoyedly and then looks to you again, Lord Kurgosler, and says, "This is my associate and my advisor, Rasakant Kihila. He is of the Kihila Enclave, which is very close to us. It stays in the Olaton Rus, not too far from here, and they keep us well addressed of the matters that happen in the east or the western portion of our kingdom. This is my son, who was introduced to you, of course, and this is my holy advisor, Jomf Belnades. He is the high priest of the Church of Averio." And he says that kind of like sarcastically, and then he kind of looks to you like with kind of like a "I don't care about him that much" shrug, and you notice that Jomf, priest Jomf, has the symbol of Averio, but emblazoned on the chest of the king of Rostagar is the symbol of Atavius. Averio is the god of men according to the Elvish tradition, and Atavius is the god of law according to human tradition, and the Aetan's old traditions.
Okay.
You're a pretty religious guy, so you understand that there's kind of a dichotomy here. Averio is one of the most important religions of Parnak as a whole, and Atavius is pretty well worshipped, but there's kind of like a rivalry. I would say that I'm trying to think of like a real world analogy. They're not the same religion, so two Christianities aren't going to really match up, but the best thing I can think of is like Catholicism and Protestantism is the kind of matchup you're getting. It's just that they worship two different Christs.
Right.
You're still being just torn down with eyes, Brock's just maintaining composure. And then back in the main hall, the lemon caps are all basically posted at one of the doors, entrances into the place. And you finally make it back to the Great Hall, Ren, where you see that Matilda is kind of just standing underneath the chandelier in the middle of the chamber.
He would approach.
She looks over at you, Ren, and kind of
Seems to have
brushes
done quite
hair out of her face. She brushes the hair out of her face.
right. So you seem to have done quite well for yourself.
You. Are you, what, his advisor, this Lord Kirk Osler, or a friend?
I would say perhaps more a friend.
He comes from very low beginnings. Do you think that he will make something great of himself in this place?
I know it is his hope.
How's Gareth?
Gareth is the same as always.
Stubborn, bullheaded, and blind to potential.
Aren't so many of us?
She kind of gets a little flustered, and you can see that there's a bit of a blush to her face. So, how was his training? How was your work? Tell me about it.
Well, my work has taken me far and wide. Not quite the work of the City Watch. I'm not sure you'd completely approve.
Based on the reports that I've received from my captains, you've come into some trouble with the conglomerate?
That's right. I think it's well known that there's strange goings on.
Go ahead and make a scrutinize check.
Jen Lauren, I sense someone mentioned the conglomerate.
You're basically just about to jump off the balcony and start dressing up as a tree.
So that's just an investigation check, yeah?
Correct.
20.
You can tell that she's been keeping tabs on you. Immediately, right off the bat, that she has definitely been watching you ever since your parting of ways. You also notice something very...
You have a stalker.
You also notice something very interesting about her composure in this current state. She's trying to take a position of power in the center of the room. She's trying to focus herself as being kind of a center of attention. She wanted this conversation. She didn't know... You can just kind of tell based on like her attitude and her mannerisms in the dialogue. She didn't know what she wanted from this conversation, but she wanted a confrontation with you. And you assume it has to do with your past.
So I would stand beside her and say, I've been following your career closely as well.
She looks to you again, kind of, you can still see that there's a bit of a blush still there on her cheeks, and she says, it has been hard to make sure that the king has been kept safe, and it doesn't really deal much with what Gareth would have taught me, but there are times where a keen eye and a sharp wit is necessary. And she kind of like breathes in and like leaves the floor open for any kind of rebuttal to what she said.
Ren would say something like, "Oh, Matilda, I think we both know that you're far better suited to your current job than I am."
You can definitely feel like the tension rise after that moment, and that's where I'm going to cut that scene. And I've dealt with the dining room. Back up onto the balcony, you guys hop down and kind of start making your way to exit the place. As you're doing so, you see that the archer, like one of the two archers that remain, is kind of near like a bush. And she kind of looks like she's kind of like very worn out and tired, and she's kind of looking over at you as you kind of approach, and you can see that her eyes are red with what you assume is crying. She says, "What the hell are you doing over here?"
Leaving. We're not wanted inside, so might as well actually get something useful done, we figured.
Why aren't you wanted inside? Aren't you the
I
entertainment?
don't know. Ask your boss why. He apparently doesn't want the entertainment right now.
I don't understand
He
how.
prefers it be boring breakfast, I suppose.
I don't understand how he can have such a kind of happy and bullshit event when what happened last night still happened. She's dead.
Sweetie, it's because he's a dick.
Sweetie. She looks at you as she kind of reaches for her dagger hilt. What the fuck did you just call me?
Hey, I meant it as a compliment. Listen, I'm just saying, he's a dick. That's why.
She kind of shrugs and moves her hand away from the dagger. She says, "Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't know if I can work for him anymore, and I don't know if I could work for Wellenbard either. They're basically cut from the same cloth. I don't understand why
Yeah.
pomp and circumstance is more important than the life of one that served him so loyally, died for him. What the fuck were those things?"
Well,
Is-
they were kind of like shadow assassins. Like, it's complicated. They're kind of like a shadow creature melded onto a person, and they can use that to do, like, magical sort of sneaky things. Kind of meld into the walls.
Did you say you were leaving?
Yeah,
How
we
the
should
fuck-
probably go.
How the fuck are you gonna get out of here? It's surrounded.
I don't think they put anyone out on balcony yet.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Do you want some company?
Yeah, sure.
I could use the fresh air.
By all means. Come.
Okay. She hops up. If you ask her name, she says her name's Aya. She hasn't really been addressed to you. This isn't the one that was super cool. The one that was super cool is the one who passed.
Oh,
Um,
I know.
was
I
Jamie.
can't tell Gilbert to res her. Dick.
he resurrected Remhick. Okay.
How do you spell her name?
Uh,
Please stick it in chat.
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah,
AYA.
it's on
Thanks.
AYA.
And you guys exit, leaving the garden. Okay. Where are you headed?
So,
I have a question. Can we do this in secret time?
No.
Alright.
I wish
Ah, that would be so cool though.
Right? Like, the three of us
Yeah.
could still stream it to Twitch. I just didn't want Kevin to hear.
Or how about this? Why don't the rest of us go to Secret Time where you're in this one?
If you want to, but what
That
I'm
way
Yeah.
we wouldn't know what's happening.
what I'm telling you
Yeah.
is the thing is okay. What you're basically trying to exhibit is whoever you're trying to keep this away from, they're just gonna have to go to the stream because whoever I'm talking to is being broadcast live to all
I know.
5 followers that I have watching.
More.
High five followers, which
I'm
I'm
gonna go
Hi.
to Secret Time for this and not look at and give you scouts.
It's all good.
yeah.
I just thought it'd be
Feel
funnier when we, like, came back later and, like,
I
Oh
am,
yeah, no.
I
no idea
understand.
what we're doing.
It's definitely a weird dynamic to try and split the group with a stream going. That's the hard part.
Take off your headphones, Gilbert.
No.
Not even, no worries.
Well, if you want.
He would know when to come back. We wouldn't be able to tell him when to come
We
back.
can just message them in the disc. No, we can message them in the Discord.
It's up to you
I'm
guys.
also I'm looking at the video.
I'd rather
Let's see.
I'd rather have an audience of my people watching, and that's in group. Like if is it really that dynamic in like a situation you don't want to have him here or?
No, I just thought it'd be funnier. That's why I asked.
Yeah, it was just more.
I literally just threw it out there to see if we could do it, and you said no, and I'm ready to move on.
Okay.
Like,
So am I.
Word.
So am I. Okay, so you guys exit out with Aya, and where are you headed?
You want to go with the plan we discussed?
Yeah, I have some ideas to make that plan even more interesting. In fact.
By all means.
So, I was thinking, I have to set up like this meeting between, like, the head of the idealists and some of the other, like, groups. I'm just thinking, Gilbert's already got such a nice place to have all these sorts of meetings. We could just try setting it up there, maybe.
Oh, yeah, that's a thing that could happen.
The king should be gone by dinner time, right?
Yeah,
I would imagine so.
it's a breakfast. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
We set it up for sundown.
yeah. I think that's something that, we can probably do. And, again, he's so good at hosting people.
Of
I
course,
can't see
he
how this
loves
would go wrong.
guests. I think it'll
Exactly.
be fantastic. We start with this, then tomorrow we invite all neighborhood. We do welcome home party, yes?
Well, just one thing. And I sort of like lean into. I lean in towards Yen Lauren to sort of like, so Aya doesn't hear this right now.
I have whisper, so I'm gonna, like, when I see you lean in, I whisper to you, speak freely.
Nice. So the head of the Idealist, he's a beholder. So it might be hard to like get him there, but once he's there, it'll be interesting.
Message, that's what I meant. But yeah.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Okay.
What do we do about this one? Should we bring her in on our side? Perhaps bring her under our employ.
Real quick notes. I forgot to mention. So Aya, there was of the 3 archers. There's a dark elf, a human woman who is the cool one, and also I believe it was an elf, right? The dark elf is Aya. Aya is dark elf.
Okay. Could be
But,
useful.
Real quick note: dark elves in this campaign setting statistically are the same, but dark elves in like Faerun in like normal campaign settings, other campaign settings are like evil, and they have this weird backstory. It's commonly known that dark elves are very rare, and the reason why they're very rare is they worship a goddess named Makema, who is the goddess of dreams, and so they spend a lot of time trying to trance and enter into dream states, not the Feywild. Whereas most elves will trance to enter into the Feywild, but in Sooth, most like high elves in Eladrin will stay in the Feywild and enter into the material plane through gate cities. Most wood elves, wild elves, moon elves, and the like, they live in enclaves, and those are the enclaves that we've discussed in the past.
Gotcha.
They don't have civilizations in the material plane elves. They live in the Feywild, the Shazas, and some of them live in the material plane, but they don't live in like a city or anything. There's only like one elf city in the entire continent. So yeah, she's a dark elf, but that doesn't mean she's evil.
Cool.
Right.
Not that would matter to either of us, I don't think.
I guess not. Probably.
In
Have you
hindsight.
met us?
So
But yeah, what do you have any thoughts on her? Should we bring her in the fold? It'd be nice to have someone on our side.
We could. Why not? I don't see a problem with this.
This is this I like this.
corrupting the workers. Okay, so where are you heading? I mean, I get the notion. I'm just wondering where in particular you're heading. 'Cause
We probably should head to the Night Sharks bar where we met what's his name, the boss.
oh,
I'm sure I've got him in my notes somewhere.
okay,
That seems to be the most logical place to go right now, right?
yeah, sounds
I don't
great.
see why not. He seems like he'd probably be the hardest to convince right now. So if we can't get him on board,
Dang it.
feel like your
Do
dragon
you have what
would
his
be
name
pretty-
was in
I
your
don't-
notes? Because I do
No,
not
dude,
have
I don't
it.
take
Adrian?
notes, man.
Adrian?
It's Hadrian, yeah.
That sounds right.
That's right, because I made the joke about Hadrian's Wall.
Right. And that was a hell of a zinger.
I know.
Slade.
So yeah, we're going to go and talk to Hadrian.
Okay. We'll cut back to you in a bit. Back to Kurt Gosler. You are in the midst of breakfast, and breakfast initial course is basically a Rastagari breakfast, a full Rastagari breakfast. It's served all at once. So everything is basically served to you on a plate, mixing and seeping together very deliciously. The real world equivalency with the difference of items would be like a full English. But yeah, anything in particular you want to do before people start eating?
I want to praise the king for some of his political policies. Like, I've been a citizen of Rastakar for like 100 years, something like that. So I would have been around for the king before him, I'm imagining. And I just bring up something like a building permit required by the crown, and the tax money that's gone towards paying for the train and the other things. I just want to praise his lawmaking policies.
The boom in technology, yeah, and everything like that. Very good. He seems to be kind of like it's weird. Like, this is the king of the kingdom here, and he seems to be kind of like pleasantly affected by it. Like, you can kind of tell that he's like, oh no, it's not just me, it's also the people. And he's like, you can see that he's humbly trying to accept the compliment, whereas everyone who's looking at him, specifically the prince, are kind of like, stop being so meek, but you kind of get a sense of respect that this person is not someone who takes his nobility, his royalty, for granted. He's someone who understands the weight of the actions he takes in his course. His son seems a little bit different in that regard amidst this dialogue.
No, truly, this is the greatest city in all of the realm, and the reason for that would be because you've allowed a place for great minds from all walks of life to come together and share their knowledge with each other and allow prosperity to...
Interrupting you, the elf says, even a blaze hatchet. And he kind of looks to you and he says, tell me, do you seat yourself in high regard amidst that clan? And kind of like leans in, like looking to you.
There is noble blood that flows through my veins. Although where I call home back in Stormloft, we don't claim such. We simply work as master artisans. But that's part of the reason that I came here, is to share my knowledge, my family craft with the city of Wrath.
How long have you been within the city?
About a century now.
Truly. And he looks over to the king. And the king kind of looks to you. A century? Why have I not heard of your presence here, Lord Blaze Hatchet?
I don't know. I've lived a rather humble life, teaching. For the majority of it, sharing my craft and my knowledge.
The elf interrupts again.
In Red Wheel.
At the academy?
Indeed, yes, at the academy.
Sword, staff, or shield?
I'm kind of like looking around. Staff.
That's Tal Marais.
Marais, right.
Yes.
He says, interesting. I also count myself amongst the staff. Very pleasing to know that someone of such distinguished background resides within the college as well. When do you plan on holding courses again? I would very much admire to see what you teach.
It would be in a few months' time. I have some business I need to wrap up currently before I return to my clients.
Is there anything that I could do to assist you in wrapping up that matter sooner so that your classes could start? Post haste. And you kind of go, like, you kind of have this moment, like, this is an elf asking you to hurry. And elves aren't typically the type to go, can you move it along because they live forever? But you can also tell that he's a bit long of the tooth as well, so.
Although there's nothing that comes to mind immediately, I'm sure somewhere along the lines I would be more than happy to have your help.
Anything I can do to assist. I very much am interested in what you have to offer in the way of knowledge. And he kind of smiles at you and seems to be enamored with you, staring at you. the piercing gaze that he was giving you before has now turned into more of a just absolutely interested. And
Wow, 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 wow. I can feel it now.
perhaps, but most likely not. That said, Lord Kurgosler, the exchange that's happened between the elf and the dwarf kind of doesn't really unsettle you, but the food has been sent out before you. I was asking, were you doing anything in particular to the food prior to anybody eating it?
Yes, I was going to cast Detect Poison and Disease. I believe that's the name of the spell.
You see the king kind of like look at you as you're doing it, and the priest kind of like raise his hand up just for a moment, and then kind of settle it back down and go, "Aha!" And then the prince kind of look at you, kind of confused. You do know that you aren't supposed to cast spells in front of the... And as he's about to finish the sentence, the king raises his hand and looks to him and says, "It is his house. This is his estate. If he has the desire to cast spells whenever he pleases, he can. We are his guests. I may be his sovereign, but that does not mean anything while we are in his house." And he looks at him just annoyed. And the prince kind of does that thing where he was rocking in the chair again and kind of goes, "Ah." And the king kind of looks over to you, Lord Kurgosler, and says, "Please continue."
Okay, then I would quickly cast that spell, Detect Poison and Disease, and say, "I'm sorry, I just wanted to make sure nothing was tampered with before we were to eat it."
The priest says, "Do you not trust your cooks?"
Well, you know, I haven't known them forever, so I don't completely 100% trust them. And also, Your Grace, I worry about you. I don't want anything to happen to you.
Well, I understand completely, and I absolutely approve of your actions. The priest kind of looks at you, kind of like nodding his head. If the king so deems that it is necessary and worthy, I have no issues with it. And the prince kind of just continues rocking in his seat, and the elf, kind of not even concerned with you, is still just kind of watching the dwarf. All right. Meanwhile, cut back to the main hall. Matilda kind of looks to you, Ren, after your comment, and kind of takes a couple moments to think about it and says, "Why aren't you in there with them?"
Oh, royalty and nobility don't interest me too much.
Matilda kind of looks over to the dark-skinned gentleman and says, "Mallard, if you wish, you can join them as well. I know that you skipped your breaking of fast this morning." Mallard kind of nods his head. "The lady," and opens the door and enters in. You see him enter in, Gilbert and Broxgar, and let you watch him leave the room as well. And you've kind of just been sitting there idly watching this exchange between Ren and Matilda, just kind of not drawing a lot of attention to yourself, basically playing the enforcer perfectly, just listening as the circumstances unfold. Mallard walks in. He kind of looks to you, those that are in the room, and kind of walks into the kitchen. Continue your conversation, Lord Kurgosler.
Ah, okay.
Everything's fine, by the way. There's no poison.
Okay.
John, as Mallard walks in, Valette takes up where he was, takes out Judgment, and plants it on the ground as a sentinel.
All right. The second you set it, you notice that it's gleaming. It's glowing with the same magic it glowed with when it first encountered another Esper Edge.
Yeah, I know where that's coming from. Valette sort of like raises an eyebrow, sort of like notices it, but doesn't say anything, goes stone-faced.
All right. So as you guys are leaving the compound, Zach, time just seems to freeze for you. Everything seems to just stop for a moment. And you see a familiar figure appear in front of you, and he says, What are you doing?" It's the spirit within the shard.
We go to make arrangements for meeting this evening.
Oh, okay. As you're kind of moving, and kind of the time has stopped, but you feel like you're kind of like still persisting in your endeavor, especially after stating what you stated. You kind of see him fading away. It's so strange. She's so close. And then it vanishes and time kind of snaps back into its normal. And you kind of like have this moment where you kind of, huh? And Sam kind of notices. Sam, you would notice that Lauren kind of has this moment where he kind of like stops for a second, kind of like weirds out for a moment.
You're feeling all right.
Hey,
I saw my the spirit. I believe his name. God, cat. Fuck me. What is?
that is such a cute.
His name's Godcat. That's a weird name.
She's really upset that she's not getting my full attention right now.
That is a cute fucking cat, dude. I am in love with her. She is magnificent.
She's very pretty. Her name is Toby.
It's a good name.
Thank you. Oh my god. The fucking what is it? Why am I'm?
Cardiff.
Thank you. I'm so angry. Hardly.
Weird.
He said she is close, as if referring to perhaps another spirit.
I mean, the only thing that I can think of that would make a man that nervous so that he comes back from the dead is like his ex-wife.
Perhaps ex-wife is as powerful as he. Yes.
That'd be kind of crazy.
All right. Okay. Cutscene from you guys back to the foyer. Are you acting on anything, Tim, or are you just maintaining?
I'm just maintaining.
Okay. Ren, make actually, you would notice. You're pretty keen-eyed. You would see that the sword of judgment is kind of gleaming with a bit of magical energy.
And do I have a sense of why that would happen?
The first time you ever saw one of the weapons that you carry, which have been identified by Brox as Esper Edges, is when they interacted with another Esper Edge.
Right, no, I understand that, but would I know, like, what other Esper Edge, besides the ones that I have, would have activated?
There's a lot of weapons here.
So I would say to Matilda, excuse me. I would walk over to Villette and
Okay.
talk to her about what I noticed. Quietly.
Now, I know out of character what probably is it's reacting to. Did we ever have discussions about did Broxgar ever inform us about the king and his sword?
I'm aware of it. I thought I had informed everyone.
Yeah,
That's what I thought too.
that's why you know about it in character or out of character, is because he brought
Right.
it up.
Okay. Yes, I assume that it is reacting to the king's blade.
Ah, okay.
But I see no reason to make a big deal out of it. I shall stand here and protect this entrance while the other guard is inside. If they notice it when they come out, he can feel free to inquire us, but I will not presume to seek out that knowledge myself.
Mhm. Okay.
You feel something kind of speaking to you in your head. You can kind of hear it echoing inside of you, Villette. You hear a gruff man, a stern man, a warrior, kind of say to you, action is the only way to ensure a result.
I try thinking back to it. What action would you suggest I take?
There's no response. But can you say that line for me really quick, Andy, so he gets exactly what it should sound like?
What was the line again?
Action
what?
is the only way to ensure a result.
Yeah, action is the only way to ensure a result, says Hawk.
Nice. Yeah. Goddamn these plates. All right, so cut from you guys back into the dining room. You guys are still sitting there. The elf says, just kind of openly as everyone's eating, you can tell Brox that he's not terribly interested in the food. He avoids the meat and the fish, and he's focused mainly on eating the beans and the more vegetarian options, or vegan options, I guess would be more precise. But the elf kind of looks to you and says, "You said you came from Stormloft, eh? Are you familiar with the Mug Pounders out that way?"
Yes, I am.
Interesting. It's been so long since I've been to the north. Well before the Pod War. And your kind of mind snaps to the fact that the Pod War happened hundreds of years ago. And you're kind of like clicking with the age of this elf. Like, he's well over 600.
I thought I was old.
He's well over 600, easily.
My, that was quite a long time ago.
He nods his head. It was indeed. I remember there was a bit of an circumstance happening in that area. A bit of a revolt. Several towns being attacked by a massive frost giant named Jormungandr. It was quite a horrid time. Definitely a lot of turmoil. I came from the Galatia region, you see. Up north. Me and my family traveled here. About that time, when we came to Stormloft, we were met with other refugees who had arrived in the city for their own reasons. And everyone's conversations besides yours kind of fall away as this elf is now talking, and you can kind of feel his presence. Just, he is very fucking powerful. You don't know what it is, but there's just something about him underlying in the way he's talking and just the way he's kind of carrying the room that just feels potent. He continues his story. We traveled here from the Galatia region. We were ousted from our position by creatures known as the Illithid. Have you heard of them?
I've heard stories.
Well, it is why I trained so much and so deeply into the arcane arts and focused my craft. And you can see that the king kind of looks to him like confused as he's kind of openly talking about this. Seems to be a bit like just confused that he's talking about it out in the open like this. During that time, there was no conglomerate to bound us to specific rites and rituals. I trained as I pleased. I've learned what I've learned, and our family has grown strong because of that. Because of my willingness to do whatever is necessary to make sure my family thrives. You must understand, being a Blaze Hatchet, how important family is. If my records and my studies have taught me anything, the most devout dwarf keen on making sure his family's histories continued on to the next day was Durgadin the Black.
I would agree. I'm direct descendant of Durgadin, along with Kolgar, who is widely known as a direct descendant of Durgadin.
Second only to Durgadin is Kolgar in his will and desire to make sure his family's line continues.
Real quick, out of character, the timeline that he's given me, does that line up with the Guild of Malbranch was still before all that?
Yeah, Guild of Malbranch was in the 4th era. So that was 1,200 years ago.
Millennia ago, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking a handful of centuries. Okay.
Yeah. He says, I know in truth that the elves are not seen too much as a family-driven peoples, but I tell you, the Keela are absolutely devout and focused on making sure our line continues on into the next day. Have you heard the tales of Relinor? Or perhaps Dryson?
I'm not familiar. Do continue. Please tell.
Well, if you ever get a chance and are looking for an interesting read and are a savvy historian, I highly suggest learning the tales of Relinor Keela, a great duelist, a masterful user of the blades. He was peerless. The only person to ever rival him was an individual from the east, Kenji Hitori, a master duelist. And it's said that Relinor Keela was really the creator of what is known today as the Blade Minstrels of Varhuin. He was truly a master tactician as well. And we had a time in our lives when the Keela were actually like kings in the world. Elves don't focus too much on the material plane, and I understand the reasons behind it. Being so old, I understand the folly in those reasons as well. It is absolutely necessary for the elves to intermingle with the other species and create for themselves their own slice of this continent, Ena, and of this world, Urs. Just like the Blaze Hatchets, just like the Kurgozlers, and as he says that, he raises his cup of probably some sort of fruit juice to you. The king says, "Aye, here, here."
Yeah, here.
And then he kind of looks to you. You said you were a part of the nobility. You had noble blood running through your veins. Is that true, Brux?
Aye, it is.
Well, I would definitely want to make sure that it's officiated. And he looks to the priest. And that you are notated within the records. Since you've gone so long in this city without any accolades or adornments, I would like to make sure that that is rectified.
Oh, that's very kind of you, although unnecessary.
Rasakin kind of raises his hand. My lord, it would offend. The Blaze Hatchets make their own way. They create for themselves. They do not take gifts so kindly. They forge what they make. They create it with their own bare hands. And the things that stand in opposition to them, they break them down with their axes. The king nods his head. A strong people. A damn strong people. And I understand that you may not be willing to take my gifts, but I still wish for you to make yourself known within our records.
Thank you, my lord.
Rasakin kind of looks at you again with a newly inspired kind of wellspring of just admiration. And it just feels like Lord Kurgozler is kind of sitting in the shadows, kind of like watching this happen, kind of realizing, oh my god, my breakfast is being stolen by a fucking dwarf.
Hey,
Interject.
he's a good guy.
If you want.
I would like to interject. I would say, like I have come here and now become Lord Kurgozler, started off helping out Wellenbart, Lord Wellenbart. There's one thing that's important to me that I was just wanted to run by you. One thing that's important to me is finding a place down here in Rastegar for my relatives to migrate. And I'm hoping that, knowing your history, you've always been okay with people migrating in because you realize that the people actually increase the industry within your city.
Absolutely.
And the Kurgozlers are great people, and so I just wanted to let you know that I'm looking to do that, and I hope that I will have your support when I do that.
The priest says, how many number within your family? Would a single manor house, besides this one, or perhaps in addition to this one, supplement them?
Well, actually, they've been having it's basically a whole bunch of families of merchants up in Stormloft who have been oppressed, and so out of character now. I'm thinking
The
this
elf
is
kind of-
probably like tens of thousands, right?
Yeah, well, it's probably closer
Maybe.
to just thousands. Yeah.
Thousands? Okay, thousands.
The elf quickly jumps in and says, "You mean the Barbagezi Principality in its entirety, do you not?"
Well, I guess, as if you want to be, yes, I guess if you want to be, like, exact about it, that's kind of what it is. Or a large majority of it.
He kind of nods his head. "My lord," and then in Elvish he says, "It would be very wise to make sure that the Barbagezi Principality migrates to this kingdom. It is one of the strong points that is held within the nation of Stormloft, and taking them from that nation would, it would make for certain great power here." The king nods his head. "Of course. Yes, please make ready your people and have them come here. We will make estates for them. A house just recently freed up. It was formerly ruled by House Karloff. We've been looking for some to establish themselves within."
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be excellent, my lord. My grace.
Again, the formalities are understood and respected, but they aren't absolutely necessary. I do appreciate your honorifics, but I do prefer individuals who speak candidly. At this point, Gilbert, you can kind of tell that he's a bit annoyed that you keep calling him that.
Okay, then I would try to cease and desist.
Of course. He nods his head, and the scene cuts, and we're going to outside. Yanloren, Samuel. I'm just trying to fix my shit. Hold on a second here.
It's fine.
I don't even know how that's happening. Hold on a second here. That's interesting. Fixed.
I feel like things would be going better at the breakfast if, there was some extra flavor.
You take the trolley, and you head over to the tavern at Tavern Lane, where the Night Sharks currently hold up. You enter in, and it's pretty quiet. The only person there is a barkeep who you've never seen before. Older gentleman kind of looking over at you and says, "Whoa, you guys are trying to get in early, huh? Get started, get fucked up, and go to sleep early or something? What are you guys doing here? Sorry, this is a bar, you know that, right?"
We play the marathon game.
"Shit, yeah, alright, fine. Sit on in. Let's get it."
Yeah,
We
I'll
were
take
also
a.
wondering.
The back door
Yeah,
The back door opens, and you see a person start to exit out. A gentleman you've met before, currently holding a head in his arm, kind of walks over to you. "Kenneth, that will be fine. You can go ahead and head out. Close the door behind you and lock it."
Head out! I get it!
Ha!
I don't like it.
Because he's got his brother's head in his hand. For those watching and aren't familiar.
Wait,
with
he
it.
has his brother's head in his hand? Oh, never mind. I thought.
Hadrian is a individual who is currently holding an exact identical head to his own in his arm. And he looks to you and he says, "What do you want? Is your job done with the Kengo or not?"
I'm actually currently here. Well, me and my associates here are here on a slightly different mission right now. I'm just going to casually show him the new mask that I have and say, Post Mortret kind of wants to set up something, talk a few things over.
What's the new mask? Oh, the black mask, right?
The
He-
black mask.
He knowingly nods his head. He snaps his fingers with his free hand, and you see all the blinds shutter up. And he gestures towards the table in the center of the room. As he does so, all the other chairs start moving. And when I say moving, their legs start moving like walking. And the chairs walk to the outside of the room, as do the tables. And he gestures to the now open table in the center of the room. Have a seat.
Yeah, Lauren's
Yeah,
just
sure. Let's go and
stuff
do that.
out. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do this.
How's Aya handling this right now?
She kind of, when she sits down, she kind of leans into Yen Lauren and says, "What the fuck is going on?"
Do not worry. We keep you safe.
Oh, I'm not worried. This is fucking insane. He kind of raises his hand.
I know. It's exciting.
Hadrian kind of raises his hand towards you too, and kind of looks to Samuel. I knew you'd be interesting. I knew from the second I saw you, you were going to be something fun. Tell me what you want to negotiate here. Tell me what you want to talk about.
Well, as I said, I'm simply here as the mouth of the idealists right now to make sure that we can actually set up something in good faith, of course,
Oh, I
where
absolutely.
we can have a open discussion about the future of events in this here fine city of ours.
I absolutely understand the gravity of what you've shown me here. I want to understand first. I put an ultimatum upon your friend, Lord Kurgosler, to do a mission for me, something that would help me as a favor, or to grant me permission to establish myself and my group in a warehouse in the Noble District. Neither of these two activities have resulted in me acquiring an end result that I desire. I absolutely respect what has been placed before me, and I do not mean to insult the idealist in any way. But agreements are agreements. So I have to ask you, Samuel, when will you complete your sortie? Or when will you give me my warehouse?
Hit him with the old "fuck her, Gosling."
Yeah, I'm
Yes, you,
almost
buddy.
tempted to say that Kurt Gosler's dealings with him are not my dealings with him.
If you say that, you want to say that? Is that what you want to go with?
I'm really kind of tempted, like saying, it seems to be like something like it seems to be coming along.
Say it. Say it.
Yeah, seems that there is some progress on both of those ends, as far as I know. However, Kurgosler's dealings. Oh, Cat, what are you doing?
Did
to
the
my
cat just
computer?
drop you from Zoom?
Yeah,
Yeah, she did.
Yep.
Alright.
hilarious.
Anyway, I believe those are under their way, but yours and Kurgosler's dealings, I believe, do not necessarily translate to my dealings with you, I believe. I might be wrong on that assumption, of course, but
So,
those were your deals with him. I was simply a hapless bystander in that incident,
the gnome,
as I did not even know he was trying to.
the gnome
set
and his
something up with you.
entourage have turned into a hydra. Alright then. Discuss your terms. Tell me what you desire.
Thanks, Joe. I'm working on it. Yeah. Oh, hush, kitty.
Now the cat's taken over.
Yeah, she does not want me to move her off of.
Oh, she sounds like my mittens cat. Oh, I miss my mittens.
Yeah, well, she can dig herself in.
It's cute.
So, as I said, we wish to set up a meeting as soon as possible.
I'm free all day.
Ah, that's perfect. We were also thinking that to possibly make things a little bit easier, and perchance maybe you could check up on Lord Kurgosler and his progress, potentially having it at his place might.
Well, that would be a bit complicated. What with
Make-
the king being there this morning? Do you mean later today?
Well, oh, of course.
We
I mean
were
later today.
thinking sundown.
So long as the king and his entourage are not present, that should be fine.
They shall have left. It's only for breakfast.
Very good. I'm glad that you weren't trying to trick me into some sort of trap.
Oh, of course not. We wouldn't dare insult your intelligence that way.
I think I could start to like you. Flattery will get you everything. So, this evening at Lord Kurgosler's house, you say that I have an invitation to meet with the Lord Kurgosler. Is that right?
Yes.
Very good. Well, then I shan't make the Lord wait. I will be there at sundown.
He's much appreciated.
And for that, you will get me a meeting with your master?
Of course. As I said, he wishes to discuss the future of the city and make sure that we can possibly come to some sort of amicable arrangement for us.
And to be sure, your arrangement with the Kengo that we gave you, that is for all of you. Kurgosler may have started it, but you do understand that blades are not exactly something that can be reasoned with, or the negotiations of details be sparsed out amidst the activities. So, how is that going?
There's progress. We've all but finished once we find one last piece of the puzzle, as it were.
That is what I like to hear.
Yes, it was honestly, in my opinion, quite an annoying the king wanted to come and delay us of our mission for you.
Of course. So then, I will meet with you this evening. I will see you then.
Wonderful.
Alright, cutscene for you guys back to the Great Hall. Judgment still has a bit of a glow to it, and Ren, you're still standing there with him.
Yep.
Or her, sorry, I apologize. What are you guys gonna do?
So I'm standing beside what looks like a beautiful woman, right?
No, you walked away from her and went to...
No.
Oh.
I'm standing beside another beautiful woman, right?
Right, yes, correct.
Oh, and what is Matilda doing?
She's watching you.
Got it. I lean in close to Valette and whisper something in her ear.
What do you whisper?
Oh, I don't whisper anything. It's just like making the whisper.
Instead of putting on blast, Valette just turns to him, then leans back into full sentinel position.
You son of a bitch.
He's trying to make his girlfriend jealous.
Alright. She doesn't seem too terribly disturbed.
Okay.
Cut back into the dining room. Gilbert,
Ruined it, Tim.
Boxcar.
Sorry, I misread that.
I love how this is split three ways. It's really good.
Guys, don't split the party!
What are you guys doing in the dining room?
Oh, I think I've just try to, familiar with the king and try not to address him as Your Grace. Try to address him as his first name.
So
That sort of thing.
basically
Just
winding
kind
down.
of get chummy.
Winding
Yeah,
down.
just winding down.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
I would like to talk to Rastigar, or not Rastigar, Rastakhan.
Rescon, yeah.
Yeah, I
Rastakhan.
want to ask him if he knows it, if he is familiar with the study of Esper Edge.
I can't say that I am. I've never heard the term. What is an Esper Edge? But when you say it, you and Gilbert both need to make wisdom insight checks.
Wisdom insight. All right, wisdom insight.
Bum bum.
Bum bum.
That's 16.
Joe, you notice a disturbance
I
from
got
the
a
king,
20.
but you don't really pay attention to it. Gilbert, you notice the king look over to his shoulder, like where the sword is located, and then his eyes widen, and then he kind of looks back to Broxgar suddenly, like he's trying to avoid any notice of that. You also notice that from inside the scabbard of the sword on his back, there's a slight black glow, a light glowing from the scabbard.
I'm going to spill the bean. I've been studying this matter for a few weeks now. There are 13 Esper Edges in our realm currently, 12 of which that have been identified that I know about. These blades are weapons that also have spirits, it seems, attached to them in some way.
The king says, "You know about these because you have one?"
Indeed, I
Reveal it.
do.
And
Yeah.
he stands up suddenly. You can hear his chair just kind of across the floor as he gets up, and he kind of looks to you, like just it seems like his whole demeanor has changed from casual, "Hey, just call me by my first name," to focused, direct.
As you wish, and as I'm pulling Fury out, I'll explain that this particular weapon is infused with the spirit of Colgar Blazehead.
You also,
And I do believe that yours is an elvish priestess, a female, and I'll hold it out.
you notice that it's glowing as you pull it out. The king looks over his shoulder and reaches for the hilt and draws the weapon from its scabbard. And as he does so, you can see that the black blade is glowing bright black. If you've ever watched Star Wars Rebels, it's very much similar to the Mandalorian lightsaber. It's just like a dark glow. It seems to kind of just negate light in its center and kind of have like a bit of a shine to it on the exterior. And he kind of looks like he kind of holds the blade out. First he was drawing it with purpose, and now he's kind of holding it and staring at it with wonder. And he kind of looks to you. Does it speak to you?
Sometimes, although it's only happened on one occasion,
What does it say?
to destroy my enemies, to destroy the enemies of law.
It's strange because he kind of stops and he looks to everyone. Looks to Gilbert. Do you have one of these as well?
Yes, and I would.
If you do not have an Esper Edge on your person, clear the wound by royal decree. Exit this chamber. Seal the doors behind you.
Would I hear that? Would we hear
No.
it from the outside? Okay.
You do watch as everyone besides Broxgar, Gilbert, and the king exit the room and shut the door behind them.
My lord,
Do they
please-
notice my glowing sword on the?
Yeah, I say, my lord, please, there are two others who have also been traveling with us that have Esper Edges on.
Too much for one
It should-
time. I have
Only
concerns.
two?
Yeah, right? What the fucking
What the
God
hell?
damn! Let's just go play our own game, Matt.
Seriously.
He says,
Fuck these guys.
I have questions I have now and that are immediate. I do not want to deal with the rifling of people.
As you wish.
He looks to his weapon and he sets it onto the table. Mine tells me to kill everything. destroy all life, and create an existence for his glory.
Can I just say, duh?
Have you ever seen the winged one? The one with the halo of eyes? The one with the bloody wings?
Speaking of Durin, Valcard,
I believe that is what my research has taught me as well. He looks to the weapon as it lays on the table. There he sits.
that is quite a twist indeed. I was under the impression that an elvish woman was trapped within your blade, the spirit of an elvish
Ithel
lady.
Maethor. Yes. I've read the histories.
Ooh.
She was a warrior priestess, a noble knight who came from the lands of Arwen through Galatia, much like Razakant has. And about at the same time, she fought alongside other knights and other warriors and doers of good against the conglomerate during their early intercessions into our kingdoms here in the Parnak province. Yes, that's what the histories tell me, that the sword is supposed to be blessed and filled with the radiance of a goddess. I understand the lore. I tell you the truth. There's a demon inside of that blade. I wield it because it gives me the power to do great good. And so far I have not succumbed to the corruption that resides inside of that weapon. I don't know what you have been told about the weapon you hold, but I assure you, if it is anything like mine, you hold in your hands some of the greatest evil that exists in this realm.
Well, that is new to me. Surely that's quite a terrible burden.
It is, but I have been able to do great good. The dragons that did come from the Isle of the Dragon and attacked the lands of Bikovaria and Rostagar would not have been stopped if it weren't for this blade. The warriors and bandits that came across from the Isle, or from the lands of the Blue Dragon, Seiryu, would not have been defeated if not for this blade. The order and balance I've created and established are all because of this weapon. He looks to you. No one has understood this burden that I've placed upon myself. They call me a good king, but if they only knew what the thoughts I had in my head about them. You understand? Have you had the dreams yet?
I have not.
Perhaps it
No.
is different per blade. Show me yours, Lord Kirkgosler.
Okay, and I would kind of hold it out in my hands to him, like, you know.
He looks to it. A fine weapon, suitable for a gnome as yourself. A war pick. And an axe for a dwarf. And a sword for a man. You said there are others among you who have these weapons? Name them.
I'll name everyone, and also the spirit associated with the weapon that I know about. So Byaku, that's about it actually.
Well, you
Byaku,
mentioned-
Carden.
When you mention Byaku, he says to you, I am at least good friends with his descendant. And then you continue moving on to the others. I don't know much about these others that you mention. I have made due course to study the weapon that I hold in my hands to understand the curse that I have been granted. And as he says that, he kind of like smiles, and then he kind of places his hand over his mouth. And make a wisdom perception check, the two of you.
Alright, now's the time to roll good.
After that, guys, roll initiative because you're fighting the king.
Yeah.
Joe, with your goggles in place and everything in order, you do notice that his incisors are quite a bit longer than a normal human's would be.
Wow. Alright.
Getting eaten.
He says, Bring them to me. I want to see their weaponry. I want to understand it.
Anything that we could do to help you, it would be our honor.
I think the more I know about this situation, the better it would be to help me combat it and deal with this weapon and possibly purge it of its curse.
And I'll also share everything I know about it currently and try to help.
All right. You guys are at the bar after you have your conversation with Hadrian. What do you guys do after that? Head back home, or do you have something else planned?
Nah, I told him to send Snowflake to us when it was cool for us to come back home because he didn't want us to meet the king.
Oh.
So
well,
we're waiting for Snowflake because I told the servant to send Snowflake when the king left.
Cut from you then. Rewind back to Gilbert
Well,
and your side.
hold on. I need to take care of something really quickly.
Go ahead.
Because I had the second communicator from that Inquisitor guy. I was going to talk to him to make sure that I told him what arrangements I'd set up.
Okay.
With Hadrian.
You hear him say, "Perfect. Are you wanting for the master to arrive at this meeting as well?"
I think that would be a good idea. Get things started with some good conversation between the two of them would be quite useful at this point, I think.
He'll be there, but early. Make sure a place is ready for him. You said this house is how large?
It's a decent size. I think he should be able to find a good space up there.
Very good. Our approach may seem unorthodox, but he will arrive.
I mean, it's perfectly understandable. Just to say, it will be around sundown this evening. Arriving a little early, fine, but the Lord of the House does have some guests currently. They should be gone hopefully before midday is done, though.
Oh, do you mean the king?
Yeah, those guests. How the fuck does everyone know about the secret meet? I don't say that into the comm. I just say that to myself on the side. Like,
all right.
They're terrible with the Secret Service.
Cut back to the house. Gilbert, he says, "Bring them to me." Basically, bring everyone with an Esper Edge to me. You know that the soldier has a bird on his shoulder. That it was instructed to you if you needed Yen Lauren, to basically communicate with the bird.
Okay, I didn't hear everything you said, but what I would do is I'd go out and grab Bren and
Okay. You bring them in?
And let them know as I'm going to admit him, like
as you're opening the door and you're about to talk, the king comes out and
Brooks,
places his hand on your head and stops you from talking. And then he looks to everyone else who's in the house. By royal decree, everyone who does not have one of these weapons leave this house. You see Rassicant kind of looks annoyed and kind of says, "My liege," and steps and walks out, and so do all of the guards, and the soldier with a bird on his shoulder starts to leave. Kevin.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Master Elf.
And you as well, Master Dwarf. Gilbert, the guy with the bird that lets you communicate with Yen Lauren is about to leave. I think Kevin's frozen.
Kevin?
Yeah, he was cutting in and out.
There?
Kevin.
Yeah, he's not moving. That is just him being frozen.
He can't hear us. He can't hear it.
Soldier, send that bird after your Lauren.
Problem solved.
No.
Well, here's what I do.
Now I can hear you.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Kevin.
That was good. That was a good Kevin.
That was.
Froxcar, we presume you overheard the fact that the bird was basically your conduit to Yen Lauren. you say to the old man, looking at the bird, send the bird after Yenloren. The second you say it, the bird kind of like twists its head so that its face almost goes like full upside down, and when it does so and it clicks into that position, the whole bird just vanishes. Yenloren, you feel your pocket kind of become weightier, and the bird kind of pops its head out and kind of looks at you. You understand the meaning of this action. You can't command the bird to translate to you like once it's so far away, but what you instructed the bird is, when someone wants me, come back to me. That's an action that can happen outside of the range. And so the bird snaps back to you. You understand that you're wanted back at the estate.
It seems that the king has left. Do we have other stops before returning, or shall we grace ourselves in the Lord's presence again?
Make a wisdom perception check, Yenloren.
I mean, honestly, like, I kind of do need to do some shopping at some point, but I also need gold to do that, so don't really have too much to do right now.
18.
You're walking on a kind of gravelly street, not formatted, not something that could be used for roads. It's kind of north of Tavern Lane, but it's away from like the main thoroughfare, so you're not too, bedrazzled by people walking past you or possible eyes you don't want seeing you walking about. What you do notice is that as you're passing by what looks like an old cart near a smaller kind of towering building, and kind of near what looks like it might be kind of like an inbound, like first floor farm to a place, is that standing near that cart I just mentioned, just kind of idly standing there and watching you from underneath a dark hood, is Sayre.
Bum bum bum.
I use message and say, Sayre's watching us. Don't be obvious.
And you continue walking
And
past.
I reply my message, who the fuck is Sayre?
He's one of the reincarnate demon hunt, bitch. You know.
Oh, gotcha.
I want to keep walking and see if I can watch her follow us or not.
Okay. Your perception was high enough that you'd realize that you've seen this cloaked figure a couple of times in your passing. She's not following you. She's leading you. It seems that she's kind of knowing where you're going, and she's keeping an eye on you.
Interesting. I let Sam know. Do we divert or do we continue?
Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think that they're going to necessarily need us back there right away. So if we divert a little bit, I don't think it's going to cause problems.
Sam, with your wisdom perception check, you kind of have a feeling, like a gut feeling, that the situation here could... Where is your wisdom perception check?
You thought you just asked Yen to do that one.
Oh, you're right, because
Yeah.
he's the one that would have been able to recognize her. You can make a wisdom perception
Yeah,
check.
because yeah. All right. 18. I actually did a good one, guys.
Nice.
You're
Good job.
looking at the situation. The entire street is quiet. This is a very quiet area you walk through. It's kind of like a back alley, back street. And she's the only other person available here. You're pretty sure that if a conflict broke out here, the guards wouldn't be able to, or wouldn't even know about the situation, and probably wouldn't even arrive on the scene. She doesn't look like she's ready for an ambush. She looks like she's tailing you, or kind of leading you, kind of advancing ahead of you, shadowing and tracking you. But you feel like if you were to confront her here, this would be the safest place to do it.
I mean, do you think we could take
Are we
her?
trying to confront her or are we trying to ditch her? Because I'm down with confronting her, but I'm also a crazy person.
Yeah. Hello. Let's
Yeah, I just want you to agree with me out loud so we can make the wrong choice together as a team.
Of course. Let's do this.
And
We
the
got
plates
it, guys.
start falling.
We got it.
Remember, barbarian bros, when we both die.
so we can make the
You got
wrong
it.
choice together. Freaking glorious.
And
Okay.
John's just looking, and there's 2 more dead bodies.
Oh my god. Okay, so are you going to confront her then?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Okay. As you kind of start to confront her, turn about and approach, you see her kind of pull the cloak hood back, her bright blonde hair kind of glowing, and she kind of starts to advance towards you, kind of menacingly at first. And then you notice, like, dangling out from underneath, like where the cloak kind of binds around her neck, is a vial that seems to be glowing a kind of greenish color. As she gets close to you, you feel just this strange sensation as the magical energies within you kind of just break down and you feel powerless. And you also feel Cardiff's voice in your head, Yenloren, yell, "Ah! Ah!" kind of scream out in pain as he did last time you felt him kind of sundered from you.
Oh shit!
Once she gets
Yeah,
close,
this happened last time. I knew this was happening.
once she gets close
We're
to you,
making the wrong together.
you see her eyes kind of snap like wide and like maddened looking at you, and then you see her jaw kind of just drop like lazily, and you are like, what the fuck, like obviously, but she says
Well, no, obviously, the other Kurgosler is using her as a vocal channel right now.
you see her mouth like kind of move, and she says, give it back. And it feels like she's kind of forcing her mouth to move to do it.
I just sort of like look at Yenloren like, do you have something of hers?
You also need to make Arcana rolls. Intelligence Arcana for me real quick. You do notice, too, with your guys' massive perception checks, the green liquid inside of the vial is bubbling.
18 for me for Arcana.
Very solid.
19.
Very solid. The two of you would be able to denote the nature of the Orvo. Like, you've been kind of intent on this, Yenloren, specifically. And Sam, you've been filled with stories about this before. This green liquid suppresses magic in like an area around it. When it's doing so, it kind of reacts to it physically. You feel like if the liquid is not like in the same position, it's kind of spread out or vaporized in some way, it may not be able to perform its action. It may not be able to focus on the destruction of magic around you.
And what would you do if I were to say no?
You see her kind of like struggling and being in pain. She kind of grasps her head. Give it. Yen, Lauren, give it back. And she kind of drops to her knees when she says that, finishes that sentence.
Do I recognize that something's like fucking happening here?
I don't know, do you
I pick
recognize
up-
that something's...
Yeah, like it sounds like she said my. I don't, but like she couldn't know my. I don't. Why does she? I don't
The real
trust her.
serious fighting it, man.
That's what that I know, but John can be a dick sometimes, and it make it seem that way. And yank the rug out from under me once I hand him half an Esper Edge, and that's too much power to give this thing.
We understand we have all the cards. We don't want to hand any back to the dealer, please and thank
Right?
you.
Nope. I don't have any good questions. I don't know anything.
It's-
I've got it. Nope. She'd know that. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
You see her kind of like struggling and like holding her head, and then she slams her face down into the stone. You hear a sickening kind of crack. When she lifts her head back up, you can see that blood's kind of running from her brow, kind of like dripping down her face and into her lips. And you can see that there's like a slight glow to the blood as well. As it glows, she kind of moves her hand over her face and starts smearing the blood across her face. Hurry! Hurry! I can't... Stop it.
Can I try and grab the vial?
Do you?
Yes.
Okay. make make a strength athletics or a dexterity athletics check, your choice.
Oh no. Oh, this
God,
is gonna end well.
Well, hold on a second.
ahead.
This is worth burning my inspiration on, so that he
Okay.
gets 14 opposed to the 4.
Yeah, that natural one probably would have been a different story. All right.
Also, I'd like to say, would it be possible while this is going on that I am just, since no one's technically around, slips on the black mask?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You snap on the blast mask, and he takes the vial away. The second he does, she kind of like starts spasming a bit, and then kind of snaps stone cold. Kind of looks up at you with her bloody face, and starts reaching for the sword at her hip. As you have the vial in your hand, make yet another Arcana check or a religion check, your choice.
Arcana what?
Intelligence Arcana, or Wisdom Arcana, or Wisdom Religion.
Got it. 24.
Really good. This is suppressing magic. It might also be suppressing something about her that's trying to break through.
Yeah, I'm not destroying it yet. I just want it in my hand, and now I'm gonna try and stick the Esper Edge in her other hand
Well, no.
before she can grab the other blade. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you're.
Oh,
Also
does it
pretty
have to be around her neck?
No, you're also pretty sure that proximity might be the issue. Like, if it's
Okay.
close to her, she may not be able to kind of gather herself.
Oh, so should I destroy this thing? Is that what you're trying to say?
You could destroy it or move it away from her.
I'm gonna destroy it.
Okay, how do you do so?
You said I just need to evaporate the liquid, right?
Some sort of fire would probably work. Yeah.
I got an auto torch.
You burst the thing. It kind of causes the green liquid to splay out and kind of become droplets, and most of it's kind of vaporized away. The second that happens, you see her kind of like look at you, and her hand is still like just holding onto the weapon, and she's kind of just stopped. And then you see her lips kind of turn into a soft grin, and she kind of just falls to the ground, laying out splayed on the ground. The next thing you notice is that this large renting blade shunts out of your bag as Asafune is completely reformed and bursts out of your whatever you were holding the hilt in. The entirety of the crystal,
backpack.
the entirety of the crystal has reformed into its full katana-length blade.
Nice.
Is what's happening with the body?
She's
Is
dead.
she? Fuck yeah. This would be a very good time
Do you want to try?
for me to.
Do you want to take a second and think about what just happened?
Oh, I don't know, but I don't want her to come back.
Does anybody want to give him some hints?
Oh, is she in the blade now? I'm guessing, right?
That's what I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just had to think about it for 5 seconds. You just put another body in front of me, and I'm terrified of it coming back in 5 days, you know? Like, I'm sorry. You've traumatized me, John.
You cast Gentle Repose, and how are you going to move the body? As I mentioned, she was standing near a cart when you started doing it.
Yeah. We're not too far from that thing.
Alright. As you're kind of moving the cart away, you see an old man kind of exit out of his door, and he kind of looks at you. Oh, no, it's my livelihood. It's how I get everything from Bearport to here. Please, young man, don't take it from me. Oh.
I say we shank him.
I know. My chaotic neutral nature just makes me want to blast this guy with an Eldritch Blast and move on.
Go for it. I'm not stopping you.
I know you're... But, like, the possibility of, like, someone
Here.
hearing that... And,
I-
like,
I
Here,
told-
I'll make this.
It's another
no, wait,
body.
I'll
No,
make this
wait.
easier, guys.
Wait. I told you that it was completely quiet here. If you were to get into a fight with Saya right now, there wouldn't have been an issue.
I know.
Okay, so you cast Hypnotic Pattern.
John.
That's fine.
Yeah, I'm just going to make it easier on us. He'll just stand there for like.
He starts standing there for however long, and you guys go ahead and cart off your way.
Fantastic. It's a much less lethal method than mine.
About 15 to 20 minutes later, I need both of you to just make just a standard issue wisdom roll.
10.
I'm giving you advantage on it, Yen Lauren.
Fuck yeah, 22.
12.
Zach, you think to yourself after the fact, after everything's done, you weren't really thinking about it at the time. But once you've moved away, you realize, oh, that guy's probably going to report us to the conglomerate. You just used renegade magic out on the street. So.
Oh yeah.
To be fair, I was wearing a
We're only
mask.
like 10 minutes
So
down the
she doesn't
road
look
though,
like
right?
Cutting back away from you guys, back to the house.
Oh man, we gotta go. God damn it.
A few moments.
I'm so noticeable. I should have killed him.
That's right, I forgot. I'm walking around with a doctor, aren't I?
You're walking around with a coat of many colors, yes. Okay, so that said, back to the house. You guys are all kind of looking at your reactive Esper edges, and he kind of explains the situation to you guys as well, Ren and Villette. It's a very dark twist to a situation you thought was a bit more spirited. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Well, but he thinks that demons are in all of our blades.
He thinks one's in his, and he doesn't have any reason to believe otherwise for yours.
Mm-hmm. Well, we haven't had any hints that ours are inhabited by demons as well. I mean, we've heard voices that haven't been clearly demons, right?
A couple of you have heard like some dialogue from it. Mostly Yen Lauren, though, who's not present.
Yeah, Lauren has actually seen the spirits, and from what we, from the two of our research together, and from his description of them, we believe that some of the spirits are these people, Kolgar, Byakko, but according to the research, also his was supposed to be inhabited by an elven woman, and somehow got a demon prince in it instead. But yeah, there's definitely no hint of demonic presence in any of the other Espereds. And another thing that we know that these things can do is if we combine them together, if we touch them together, abilities happen, reactions happen, spectacular things happen. Maybe we should try touching blades with you and see what happens.
Alright. And so
Nuclear
everybody
explosion.
Oh god.
pulls out their swords and touches tips in the middle. No.
Okay, this is just getting really awkward now, guys. Put your pants.
Alright, I will sheath my sword.
Yeah. So, anyways, if you do attempt to basically activate dual tech with the king, nothing happens. It doesn't seem that there's any kind of link or lock like the ones with the other weaponry, which is confusing, to be sure. It's still glowing, though. Remember that it glowed only for a few moments with the other weapons. Basically, when you first met someone, it kind of, this is still going on, and has been for some time. As you guys are kind of milling over and discussing like what the details are, I'm just going to ask Joe, Kevin, Tim, or Andy, is there anything you want to interject before I kind of cycle to the fact that Sam and Zach arrive? Or sorry, Sam and Lauren arrive.
I would say to the king, is it possible that your sword is just a different kind of Esperedge than ours?
I don't know what that would mean. I just
Or
realized that on our stream, it's Broxgar, played by Joe O, and then Ian Lauren, played by Zach F, but it's Matt B as Samuel. He's the one that's different. So when I was drunkenly trying to read the names, I'm not drunk, I'm fine. But anyways, continue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're not drunk currently. You were apparently when you put this together.
Yes, absolutely. Only a madman could come up with this kind of shit.
Villette, after the king responds to Ren, just sort of poses the thought, or perhaps his is corrupted?
That would be my thought as well. It seems that something's gone wrong with yours.
Yeah, Ren didn't want to say it, but that's exactly what he thinks.
He kind of shakes his head and says, I assume that's accurate, but the veracity of your tale is based solely on what you state. I need more than this. I understand that you could probably show me some spectacular feat, but understand I have wrecked dragons with this sword. Absolutely and utterly pulverized them. Also, I've been given gifts that have made me stronger because of this weapon.
What gifts were you given, if you don't mind my asking?
When you say that, he kind of smirks a bit and kind of raises his upper lip, and then kind of very quickly goes back to a stern face. Make a perception check.
What?
It gave him the ability to fart jelly bean.
And that was a 20.
His incisors are a little longer than humans should be. You may not know what that means in character, but I'm sure you absolutely understand what that means out of character.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Where rat?
The Rat King. I love it. I'll bring out Ninja Turtles.
Of course, Lady Carlin had to have an.
I'll bring out
Ren
Ninja
would
Turtles.
say-
videos. I don't care.
Ren would say something like, it's clear that you're attempting to use this power for great good. And that
I'd
you're-
argue I'm succeeding, not trying.
Uh-huh, absolutely. But do you worry that it will eventually take hold and turn to something far worse?
I believe that sacrifice is worth it for the great balance that I'm creating.
And what of
How would you be stopped? I'm sorry, Joe, go ahead.
and what of your son when the day comes that you need to pass the blade along to him? Do you think he is
Said
of
anything
equal?
about passing the blade to him?
So you're just never gonna die? Word.
Just never gonna give him the sword. I'll die. He can have the kingdom for all I care, so long as he rules it the way that I have set it up to be ruled.
John, how old is the king?
100 and something.
Hundreds. Okay, so he wasn't king when I was created. Gotcha.
No. Yeah, he's a half elf. He was born. 800 or 700, somewhere around there.
Okay.
After the Pod War, yeah.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Vlet's not going to say anything about. Vlet won't say anything about the conglomerate yet.
Good call.
I really want
Just
to.
then,
But
Sam walks in.
If you don't have anything, and Ren, you don't have anything, and Brox, you don't have anything, and Gilbert, you don't have anything, I am going to lead it to the point where they do enter. So if you have something,
All right, let's.
Oh wait, are we taking? Hold on, we're just gonna walk this body all the way back to Gilbert's, because
Looking at Bernie.
that's gonna take a long time. We took the trolley here. We really
yeah, no, it will. But to be honest, the cart can be loaded onto the trolley. So the trolley you're imagining in your head is probably San Francisco kind of mentality. These are like loading skiffs that you can kind of walk onto that run across the ground. So it's
Okay.
you don't have to hop up into a trolley. You just kind of walk up a small ramp, basically, that they move into, and then you
I understand.
Because they also move like carts, wagons, all sorts of shit.
logistically it wasn't making sense, but now I got you.
I understand.
But are we gonna walk Sarah's body all the way back to? I guess we don't have anywhere better to go unless you want to take it back to her family.
How big is the cart? Right.
It's literally like a wheelbarrow, basically, but with 4 wheels and a little longer.
Because you
Say it's smaller than 5 feet.
I'd say it's probably about 4 feet, so you can get her into the cart just by putting her in kind of like the fetal position. That wasn't a problem.
Okay, I have like an overcoat on me, so I can just take that off and sort of like
Lay it on the cart.
lay it on the cart so that it's a covered cart.
Yep.
I doubt people are going to take it off.
Yeah, probably not.
Yenlora knows where Sayer's husband is, right?
Kind of, but Broxgar had said that he's missing.
Yeah, so we technically don't really know where to go right now, so
Right.
it might not be a bad idea.
Well, your main, to be honest, yeah, Lauren, your primary thought is if you're trying to deliver Sayer to anyone, Broxgar would probably be the conduit that you want to kind of go through to make sure that it's delivered
Fair
to the
enough.
proper
Yeah.
party.
I mean, to be fair, I'm sure that there's a shed on like Kargosler's mansion
Yeah.
area where we can.
I just didn't want to be
like, a
carting
week-
around a body for any longer than we needed to.
There's
You know
also,
what I mean?
There's also a basement that held a cultist for a pretty long time that you could hide a body
That's
in.
what I was
We
thinking.
got places where we can store a dead body.
We got plenty of places we could sort dead body.
No.
That's
But it would have been nice if we could have just dropped her body off, then brought the guy's cart back, and then go back to Gergosler's. You know, that's...
anyone watching this. You know your party is successful when you have a place where you can shove a dead body. That's really what makes your party, you know, top
That's
It's
tier.
true. It's true. It's not,
Oh,
it's
also,
not D&D unless you've got a hiding spot for a body.
Thanks, Matt Colville, for the Strongholds and Followers book, which is really just a large book that says this is a place I can store dead bodies.
Also,
anyways,
John, as I said,
you cut out. What was that?
I would have put the mask back
Oh,
or
sure,
taken
sure,
the
sure.
mask back
I,
off
ass-
before.
I assume it's on when you say it is, but only for that amount of time. Okay,
Yeah.
you guys head back to the house, and since nothing else is being like risen, no points of order are being risen in that dialogue, you get to the outside.
Now, the king said that he was kicking everyone outside of the house. Are there still 50 yellow caps posted up outside?
There are, but
I'm not getting anywhere near that thing, then.
as you approach, you notice that the
We've got a body! I'm not getting anywhere near that!
the two soldiers see you approaching, and you can
Oh,
see
man.
that the attendants that were near there are kind of staying, kind of backing away. But the soldiers kind of like wave you over, kind of gesture you on.
They're onto us, lad. We should run.
And the soldier that's outside, it's not the soldier that's normally posted outside. It's the older guy, the older one that had your bird on his shoulder. Hey, they're looking for you. And
Who
you,
is they?
the king.
Quick side glance to Sam.
What's in the cart?
Sam just is sort of like has a small smirk on the side of his mouth.
Where did you get
Just a
that?
small one.
Where'd you get that weird crystal? He points to the sword jutting out of your backpack that you never addressed.
We had quite a morning. If you would do me kind favor, young sir. And I would like to pull him closer so only he can hear me.
Well, we also have Aya with us still, technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm gonna send her with this woman. There is a old friend of ours who is pissed. She is in the cart. I would like you to take the cart into Sir Kirk Osler's house. Remove the body without the yellow cap C.
You can see the face of the older gentleman kind of going from like he's kind of like listening. He's like and then like there's a dead body in the cart basically, and he's like, and then Aya kind of intercedes and she looks at you and she says, "I'll handle it. You didn't have to tell him." And she kind of leans into him and starts whispering, and the two of them kind of move the cart away.
And if you could, Aya, return the cart to the gentleman we kindly borrowed from and reimburse him for his time with
Yeah, you-
with the Lord's funds. I believe he
Yeah,
would
that's
like
true.
that taken care of. Yes.
100
Good
gold.
point.
Do not
The Lord's
upset
funds.
the man whose cart we had to politely borrow for an afternoon.
Do you think 100 gold would be fine? And
I
she's,
think that should be enough.
I think half that shall be fine.
Oh, I was going to say actually throw another 50 on.
50 gold is fine for the man's losing his cart for afternoon.
fair enough. And then she and the soldier kind of wander off to the eastern side of the manor house. You two approach into the house, and as you enter in, there's like a stillness, a quietness to the chamber, but you hear that there's noise coming from the dining hall. And Lord Kurgosler and those in the side of the dining room, you would also hear that someone has entered into the front entrance. It's been quiet for about a half an hour or so.
Ah, they must be here. And then I guess I would go out there and try to see if I could find them.
Do you come out by yourself?
Yeah, the king's in there with all the
The king
Esperidges.
follows.
Ah, king's following me. All right. Ah, look, it's
You all-
Lauren and Sam.
You all convene inside of the Great Hall. The second you all enter in, you get this very strange sensation. It's like a wash of cold air kind of brusques from you, and it seems to emanate from the Black Blade. The second that it happens, Lauren,
I would like to say, Sam just sort of whispers, "Demon sword."
when when you see that happen, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure that the battle map is ready. So everybody move into the Great Hall, please.
Oh man.
Uh-oh.
Kill the king.
Maybe
Yeah,
the
how
food
did
should
you
have been
not see this
poisoned.
coming? Where is the Great Hall?
I don't know. I found it.
Yeah. South from you where you guys are located.
Okay, so we just came in, so we'd probably
Oh
be
no,
like,
that's the dining room. The Great Hall is the one north of that. I'm trying to
Oh, we
move
gotta go
everybody
north?
out. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
So anyway, in the center of the room, Lauren,
This
you
side.
witness as Cardiff's specter appears again to you in the center of the room.
Walked in like that.
And he says, "You found her." And what's interesting about this time is you see this happen. Broxgar, you see Cardiff appear in the center of the room, look to Yenloren and say, "You found her." Ren, you see Cardiff appear in the center of the room. I think you get the point. Everybody sees the manifestation that only you were able to see before.
This
Yeah,
guy
but
in there?
Cardiff's real.
You feel a hand placed on your shoulder, Sam, and he says, it's real.
it's real.
Exactly that.
Nice.
How come I have the stupid Esperage that has the crazy... I'm the most normal one here.
Karma.
You feel a presence standing next to you, Ren, as you kind of like look at the situation. And you see a very honorable looking Sarajujan man kind of standing next to you, and he looks to you and he says, "You found her." And he kind of like smiles. "I could tell you had it in you." Then you see that Gilbert standing next to you is a woman all in white. She appears to be very regal. You kind of got a glimpse of her before, Yenloren, but weren't able to really match up too much details. You notice that her hair is kind of like a dark color, but as you look at it more, it appears to be purple, and you think that her aura kind of made that fact elusive for you the last time you saw her. But her hair appears to be kind of like a dark purple in coloration. Her robes are white, and on her chest she has the symbol of the sun goddess Bicavaria. And she kind of looks to you, Gilbert. "You've done so well in such a short time." Broxgar, you stand adjacent
Whoa.
to greatness. You see him adorned in all of his armaments, and weapons just kind of settled upon him, every single one, a spectral shadow of all of the weapons he collected in life. The dragon scale sitting atop his head. And he looks to you and he says, "You really have earned this. You really have come to a strong point." And Valette, a very honorable looking man, human, stands next to you with iconography upon him, blue fields with 2 white chevrons pointing skyward. And he says, "Nothing." He just kind of nods his head, kind of looking at the situation as it unfolds, quietly and focused. He seems to be trying to weigh in every single aspect of the situation and think about how he can make a tactical advantage about the situation if it were to unfold differently than it appears to be currently unfolding. and the blade at your back also gleams and glows, Yenloren. And you see Sayre standing next to you. And she says, I don't know how you did it, in a Russian accent.
I don't know how you did it.
But you did it. And,
I'm not repeating everything John says.
see, pro tip, lazy DMing. Bring up old characters for the role playing to happen for the characters you're currently playing, so you don't have to do the voice acting. Oh,
Nice.
perfect.
DMX.
Lastly, like you kind of feel this sense of like success and greatness, and then as you kind of rest in it and kind of go, yeah, we did do it. Whatever it is we're doing.
Good job, man.
The manifestation of Cardiff in the middle of the room breaks, shatters like glass. And standing in the center of the room is a completely covered in black, pale white gentleman with an arcane rune emblazoned in his forehead. His hair long and black, and his hands kind of long like a piano player's hands. And when he kind of moves his hands up to kind of raise them up to stop you from any action, you see that the same arcane symbol is emblazoned in his palms. On his left hand, he wears a ring, like a wedding ring, and it looks like it has 3 sockets for stones, but the stones are no longer present. And when he appears, he says, "You want her? Do you?" And you see everyone that is a spirit kind of take arms and kind of ready themselves. They appear to be steeling themselves against this figure. The first person to speak is Byako Seishat Subeda. He looks to you, Ren, and he says, "I need my sword." And he raises his hand up to take the weapon from you.
Sweet. I give him the weapon.
The others, in turn, in their own ways, ask for their weapons back. Pocket says, "I'm gonna need Selena, my friend. I'll hand you that one."
Well, she's fucking mine now, you bastard!
"I'm dead, I'll give it back." The priestess says, "Little one, I need my weapon, please."
To me?
Yep.
Yeah,
Paul
then I
Guy
would hand it.
looks to you and says, "If it's a fair swap," he kind of hands you another one of his axes.
Oh, hell yeah!
The second it hands over to you, the weapon he's handing you, it goes from being like this weird spiritual form to being solid in your hands. You have an adamantium
Solid
battle
as
axe.
a rock.
He takes fury from you. Yenloren, Cardiff being broken, Sayre kind of looks to you and says, "Just keep your focus up," and then pulls the sword out of your backpack.
Oh yeah, I'm readying my dream shard to fucking fight with these bastards. Let's do this thing.
As you kind of hold the dream shard, you feel this kind of weight drawing into the shard and kind of emblazoning out towards everyone else. It's not visible, but you can feel that there's a tether from you to every single spirit and soul in this room. And you watch as every single one of the individuals who's taken up their weapons in a absolutely fast spectral lunge dart in towards this dark figure in the center of the room. The second he kind of understands what's happening, he kind of just takes all of the blades and everything kind of just meshes out into kind of like a blank white slate of color in the center from all of the weird colors of the blades as they are magical energy forced towards the center. Once the dimming of the light goes, all of your weapons are aligned in a circle out in the center, and the black blade is sitting there, actually having been in the hands of the king, off to the distance, who just watched in dismay as this kind of unfolded. And there it lays in the center, and up from it comes this greenish energy. And you see a woman, an elvish woman, standing before you with bright moonlight-colored hair, the regal adornments of a priestess, and her hair suddenly kind of shocks away from yellow and blonde, and you see this red tinge kind of glow through it. And she says, "Our paths meet again." And she kind of fades away into the weapon. And that's where we're going to leave off the session for today.
Nice.
All right.
Very nice.
Meet back in a week. Thanks for watching, everybody. And I'll deal with the experience off the stream. All right, talk to you guys later. Hold on a second for the people watching.